Hey, welcome to another weekend AMA. Things are still a little bit hectic. I can't even find the light for this, but I always want to do the weekend AMAs because I think mentoring is important, and I think it's one of the best things that you can do as a developer to provide value. Is just sort of try and help those out around you. Look at those. I got these magnets for like $2 a piece at the swap meet. Oh, they're not the most high quality magnets, but they're pretty cool, right? But yeah. So still getting the house situated. So that's why I'm doing it on my phone. I actually ordered a brand new standing desk. The last one. Sorry, my hair's a little too wet because I just got out of the shower. The last one that I had was 53 inches, and this one's 70 inches and matches the office a little bit better, but mainly it's just for the size. So that will arrive on Tuesday, and after that we'll be able to have an office again. It's been a little bit hectic. Getting shit situated. You can see my office still all jacked up, but the house all in all is coming together. It's been pretty cool though. I want to talk a little bit about something that's been on my mind for a short minute, and that's been coding channels. So like I have a software channel, right? Of course, most of you probably know. And one of the things that people ask me is like, hey man, how can I get out there? How can I get my name out there? How can I start finding success in, the software arena? And I recommend starting side projects more than anything else. And one side project that gets a lot of traction is starting a coding channel, starting something related to tech. And some issues with that, not some issues, but a result of that is that what you get are a lot of people who start channels before they get their first job, and it helps them get their first job, and then they stop their channels, or they start channels and eventually the channels die. So that's a little something that I wanted to talk about in the intro as we get going here. So, I've done some shout out videos before for two other, I want to say top 5 coding channels to watch, like part 1, part 2, and I might do a part 3. But the reason it's so hard to do reviews on coding channels is because there's so few of them. There's so few software channels around, and part of the reason for that is that it doesn't make a lot of sense as a software engineer to have a YouTube channel. If you're a certain type of individual, and what I mean by that is the reason a lot of people start their side projects is get that first job, because that resume experience is more important than anything else at the end of the day. And so what ends up happening is people get that first job and then they stop. Or maybe they enjoyed it, right? Like how many YouTubers have we known that have enjoyed it for a while, then it gets old, because it's part of your life. It's a grind. It's a drain. And then what you find out happens is they just vanish. And part of that is that one, maybe they didn't like being a little bit out there and having their business out there, and that the New Boston is a good example. 2, they got bored with it, and 3, New Boston is a very successful channel. I'm more so talking about smaller, mid-tier to low-tier channels that sort of are like, hey, I subscribed, I noticed you haven't uploaded anything in 2 years. Like those types of channels. And the reason for that, at the end of the day, in my opinion, is that it doesn't make a lot of sense financially a lot of times. So, as software developers, you can relatively quickly ramp up to a 6-figure salary, at least in the US, pretty quickly. And, you have a lot of job opportunities, and things go very well, right? So, the time and energy that it takes for you so the time and energy that it takes for you to grow a YouTube channel isn't necessarily the best use of your time. And the money that you get out of it when you are a software developer making a decent salary isn't necessarily worth it, especially when you're growing the channel. And so you have a lot of these small channels that die and grow because they never really enjoyed the journey and the learning process of software. And it was the goal was to get the job, and they accomplished the goal. And no judgments, by the way. I want to make that clear, but someone asked me this in a comment a little while back. It was like, why are there so many small channels that just seem to die? And part of it is they accomplished their goal. Their goal was a one-step goal, right? And it was to simply get a job, and then cool, we'll see what happens from there. And that's enough. And then other people were like, oh, I can make some money, some residual income. And then they realized, like, well, I'm basically working a part-time job for less than minimum wage to get started, and then it doesn't become worth it. So that's why a lot of these small channels sort of go from, hey, I'm gonna ramp up and put out a bunch of videos to, I'm just stopping. I'm done because I did what I needed to do. I built my online portfolio. I built my this. I built my that, and I got my first job because that resume experience is number one at the end of the day. But so that's today's intro topic. What questions do you guys have for me, man? Because this is what you guys are interested in. Do you think one could learn coding quicker if they didn't start a YouTube channel? So yes and no. So if you're one of those people who have to be a perfectionist when you put a video out, I would say I don't think you can learn coding quicker. Part of it is because especially, some people, and we have this a lot in software also, where like I was talking with my manager the other day in my one-on-one with him, and he asked me, he's like, why do you think you get, why do you think you're so productive, more or less? Why do you think you get so, get off the counter. Get off the counter. Come on, Tito. No, Tito, get off the counter, cat. Bad cat. Why do you think you are, why do you think you get a lot done? Not to say anyone's, but you're a very productive developer. Why do you think that is? And I gave him several responses, but one of the things that I gave him was that at the end of the day, 90% of the time I go with my first solution that comes to mind, because as developers, sometimes we forget that we need to provide business value. Sometimes we forget that, at the end of the day, someone's paying us to deliver something, and we want to over-architect and over-engineer the perfect future-proof solution that for situations that may or may not ever happen. And so the way that I like to program is I do think about these things, but 90% of the time my first solution works. And I'll sort of, I don't want to say brute force, but I'll come up with something that works. I'll reflect upon it. I always refactor. Refactor is, hey, where can I improve the readability? Did I miss any tests along the way? But I also start thinking about future functionality. And what I have found is that it's not all that hard to handle future functionality and refactor your code once you have a working example of delivering the future. And so, I bring that up because back to the YouTube channel, and if it can help your code, is part of that is sometimes people want to put a ton of time into editing. Sometimes people want to put a ton of time into the animations. And the reality of the situation is if you just worry about the coding and just snap the video together in 5 minutes, you can do very well, because you're going to have to film yourself. You're going to have to talk verbally about it. You're going to find out very quickly where you don't understand and where your issues are. And so in that aspect, you're going to learn much faster because you have to reiterate things. You have to, hey, did I actually understand this as I'm talking about it right now? So that's one of the reasons that I really like recording demos and things like that, because it breaks it out. But some people, I pace a lot, so I apologize, guys. But some people, they need perfection. They need what they put out there in the world to be absolutely perfect. And the reality of the situation is that's not going to be conducive to you learning code. So yes and no is the answer, in my opinion. You know. Do you have an article or video documenting your YouTube setup, camera, green screen, etc.? No. Sorry. I want to ask, do you still take supplements to help you focus and mental alertness? No. I don't really code for 12 hours a day anymore without taking breaks. So the only time I really needed that was when I was learning to code and I was ramping up to get better and better. And I found that the only way to really code for 12 plus hours a day is simply to take supplements and stimulants over the counter and stuff like that. Any resources for CSS? Yeah, the best resource you can have is just building things. Is as crazy as it sounds, right? So getting comfortable building things is what I would more so recommend than any resources. Good luck, Professor. How do you do DOM manipulation without jQuery? Like a simple Google search will tell you that. You know, so let's say you get an element by an ID, and that ID that value has a bunch of different properties, right? It has inner text, it has inner HTML. You can throw CSS properties on it. You can throw CSS classes on it. All those sorts of things. All jQuery really is, at the end of the day, is a shorthand way of doing things in vanilla JavaScript. That's all it is at the end of the day. I look very tight. It's Friday. I've been working all week, and I've been moving. So, you know, I mean, it is what it is. By the time Friday rolls around, I'm beat. How many projects should I have on your GitHub? My hair looks unwashed. I just got out of the shower. It's the best I can do, man. What are you picking on me? It's not necessarily about the amount of projects on your GitHub. It's about consistency, and it's about the quality. You know, at the end of the day, by the time your resume gets to me, but to a dev, it's gone through the HR filter process, and you know, they probably just check that you have a GitHub. You know, I usually ask the same 20, 30 questions, and you know, your resume gets reviewed, and it's usually, I mean, at the end of the day, I just care that you have the skill to do the job. When I first learned to code, 24, was this something I always wanted to do? No, I mean, I've talked about this pretty much before, where essentially I was just, when I was still in school, I was looking at what was the best degree to get, and it was computer science, in my opinion, and that's how I got started coding. I kind of fell in love with it after I dropped out of college, though. Yeah. Will I ever go back to school? I actually talked about that Did I do the Hacktoberfest pull request for a free T-shirt? No, I didn't know. Is that still going on? Um, what was I gonna say? So I talked with this with my coworkers the other day, and just over lunch, and the only way I would go back to school, I think, to get a bachelor's, is if a company paid for it and guaranteed me a promotion and a 5-digit salary raise in the $30,000 range. Probably won't be going back, but it's not unheard of, right? So like, here's the thing: I've interviewed with Google, I've interviewed with Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon. I don't need a degree. It's I make enough to easily afford the house that I'm in, and I know what's important for employers. They want you to have the skills. They want you to be up to date. They want you to, um, deliver fast, efficient code and bug-free code and provide value. And I, as an employee, have those talents. And one strange thing, I'm sort of at a strange part of my life. I've been telling April this, is like I've always been of the mindset that I'm just gonna be a mercenary employee. And not about a house, I can't do that, and I don't want to do that. I'm actually very happy at where I'm at. But like just this last week, I had a company who rejected me, ask if I was still on the market to hire me, and this is from a couple months back. And then I had Amazon reach out for a third time, asking if I would be interested in interviewing again. And so I declined both, but it's a different mindset of being in, of like, okay, well, I got to pay this off. This shit ain't cheap, man. So I got to pay this off, and I'm happy where I'm at. But it's kind of a strange place to be in, where for me, there's very little value. So my time, so it's not just about the putting the, like, let's say employer doesn't pay for it, promotions, no raise, anything like that, but just like, okay, I think I can get some benefit out of this. That 2 years and that money, just forget the money, but the 2 years of time, if I put that same amount of effort into building courses, into learning technologies, into helping my code level, I'll get a better return any day of the week than I would going and getting a bachelor's. How long did it take you to get your first dev job? So I dropped out of college, and I told myself, and I worked at a software company, but it was doing like a technical writer / business analyst role, and it took me from there 8 months, 7.5 months. So I started applying at 7 months, and then at the end of 9 months, I had accepted an offer and made my way. But that was just studying every day for about 7.5, 9 months, 7.5 to 9 months. I just got Headfirst Java in the mail. I'm not familiar with Headfirst Java. Sorry, man. Oktoberfest DigitalOcean. All right, I'll check it out. Will employers be frustrated if you clearly state that you need a degree? I don't think so. A lot of those things aren't even. I mean, my very first job required a computer science degree. 2 years later, I still don't have one. So here we are. Did I have braces before? I've had braces last year. What do you think about the possibility that we're living in such simulation? I think this is just something that stoners talk about at the end of the day, right? I don't know. All programs have bugs. We would have bugs. That's my answer. There'd be bugs that could not be ignored. Hey, you're welcome, Snowden. Death is the bug. Hey. But yeah, so I just think at the end of the day, it's just something fun to talk about. Yeah, the Bermuda Triangle still needs a patch fix. Do dev employers drug test? Some do. I've been drug tested before. It depends. Did I have a strategy when applying to jobs? Yeah. Um, yeah, so my strategy was to apply out of state once I noticed I started getting more responses and be willing to relocate. And then I applied to all the jobs that got listed that day. I didn't apply to anything that was a day old, like 2 days old, 3 days old, literally that day. So every single day I filled out job apps for about 3 to 4 hours a day. What language do I specialize in? TypeScript, JavaScript. Um, I want to pick up C Sharp and .NET at my work, but uh, we have a lot of service devs in comparison to front end devs, and I'm on a very front end heavy project, so eventually I will, but um, I'm kind of needed in my domain, so. And like whenever on my project service things come up, they're never small. They're like build a brand new API that has complex functionality. It's like, well, shit, I can't tackle that in my first one. Dude, yeah, the cats are doing pretty good. They're pretty tired. We let them outside for the first time today, so they're a little drained. But um, for the most part, they've been running up and down. If you can see the stairs over there, they've been running up and down those things nonstop. Like, what is the work environment like at your current workplace? You might find out. I need to submit a. Are we still? Yes. Speaking of that day in life video, yeah. So it sounds like it's going to work out. They want me to submit sort of a few more details, like, hey, what's it going to be like? What's this? What's that? So it sounds like they're open to it. But yeah, so would I still be down to move even if you got a house? They're a little late to the game. So like, here's the thing: is I mean, I've just received a extremely large pay raise, a promotion. I just bought a house, and I honestly think that with by the end of the year, I'll get promoted again or the year after that, and raises, all that sort of stuff. I'm very happy at where I'm at. So, um, um, if if someone wanted to steal me away, they would have to offer me, God, maybe. So they would have to offer me. So not only that, because so like there is no Microsoft or Google in the Tampa Bay area, so they would have to offer me a large amount to relocate, and they have the money, so they would. But like I'm not interviewing, so like I don't want to go anywhere. So they would just be like, look, we heard you're a coding god. Take this $200,000 job. It's like, well, shit, man. I guess like what, it's not like I could say no at that point. And you know, if the job was like in Seattle, which has a 60% cost of living increase, it wouldn't even be all that big of a raise. Like, so I don't know. Do you work on single page applications? Yes. I mean, I've built several applications at work, but I work on a very large single page spa. But yeah, the day in life video is coming. This weekend, I'm planning on typing up this just sort of a high level overview of what to expect and submitting it. But it sounds like they're with it. They don't want me to be doing the. It sounds like they're not interested in me being able to go over my own employee review. so to kind of give you guys what to expect and areas that I can improve upon and what I did well and things like that, which I was hoping that I could talk about just because I think it's important to have feedback. Do I code every day at work? Yes, every single day. That is my entire job. I mean, I do meetings and things like that, and but for the most part, that is my job to code. Code, 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 code. Things that I do outside of jobs, do agile ceremonies, I do interviews. I code. I know, believe it or not. All that sort of stuff. So, why would anyone use React instead of Angular or TypeScript? It's a little bit faster in certain scenarios, and it has less. So like JavaScript's a strange beast because it's open source. It tends to lead itself to bad developers, and so like because it's not taught. So like in college, you're forced to learn about certain concepts, but in like a open source environment, like PHP or like JavaScript, you have such a variety of dev because sometimes people don't care about upping their code level, and JavaScript and PHP are the prime examples of that. And so React is a good example of that, is that the structure in React is really just like do whatever, while Angular and TypeScript is more of with TypeScript built into Angular, it takes a much more object-oriented approach, and also it's very similar to C# in how it works, and because you're essentially faking types, and in that aspect you get a lot of how can I put it? You get a lot of structure forced upon you. How long did it take you to learn enough JavaScript? I mean, I studied nonstop for about 9 months. That would be my answer. But I was studying before that. Not as hard, though. Certain features in entire web apps to build. I mean, I've had both, so it just kind of depends. But usually it's certain features right now. Do I ask senior devs to review my code? I mean, I don't necessarily ask. I do code reviews daily, and my code is reviewed daily, and that's part of the process. At my old internship, I would see it code just to see what it was like. I would see so many comments like, I hate this, we'll fix tomorrow. Yeah. That's just a very unprofessional environment. So I hear even construction jobs pay $100,000 out there in Florida. I mean, I don't know what you make in construction, but sort of the market rate for a mid-level dev is about $75K for a front-end engineer. I make significantly higher than that, but I can tell you that a lot of companies, try and hit that whatever they see on Glassdoor, but it all comes down to how good of a developer you are at the end of the day, how much money you're worth. There's people who have 10 years experience making 50, 60K that should be, if they put the time, effort, energy, and easily be in the six figures. There's people like me with two years experience who are doing very well for themselves. So it just all depends, man. Any tips for a guy with almost no coding experience going back to university on scholarship? Yeah, just start studying outside of work. What is the least someone should accept a salary from a potential employer? So, like, I would say, like, just look at what it says. The median salary. It depends on. First off, it depends on how bad you need the experience, and it also depends. So like you can always leave a job in 6 months for more money, or a year for more money if you're really underpaid. So like say they're paying you like $40,000, which is, for a dev is very low base salary. You could probably leave for 50 in 6 months. You probably leave in a year to 75. So like don't necessarily worry about the money at first. The money will come. It's more so about getting the experience in coding. Like so. One thing that's really great about being paid to code is that you are putting 40 hours a week in just at work. And so you can get much better very quickly. Are games bad for a portfolio? No. Would I recommend something else? I'd recommend a CRUD application, and I would recommend a just something that really consumes APIs and interesting side projects. That's what I would recommend. I want my office back, man. I'm ready for an office. I've been too busy to really do any programming. So here's the thing. I need to pick up C# and .NET, and I want to play around in Blazor. So like I have a couple of project ideas that I'm going to work on in the near future. What channels or resources do I recommend for those newbies who are just beginning? I have 2 videos called Top 5 Coding Channels I recommend. Just check them out. I spend the majority of my time on JavaScript in the 9 months. Should I commit the challenges to a GitHub repository? I don't see anything wrong with it. I think you should actually. You should get comfortable pushing code up, and if you're studying and practicing, I think it's a great way of showing it. Doesn't it look bad on your resume to leave your first job after 6 months? I mean, it is what it is. Look, man, people need devs. I don't know what to tell you. Like, what I would say, if you can stick it out a year, stick it out a year, because you'll probably get a bigger raise anyhow. But it's not all about the money, right? It's about learning. I left for a relatively small raise when I came to my current workplace for just an $8,000 raise. The reason for it was a couple. The workplace I was at was getting a little stressful, but more than anything else, I could tell from the developers that I interviewed with that I had a lot of growth potential. And not talking within the company, I'm talking about as a developer. I was very impressed by the developers I met and the structure, and I went just going from a small team to a mid team, and I really enjoyed the tech lead and everything that they could provide. And so, those things happen, and if you can get more money in the process, great. But those are the things to consider. So don't ever feel bad about taking. And here's the thing: if you apply at 6 months, it looks bad too. Who cares? You already got another job, and if you don't get a job at 6 months, guess what? You'll get a job at 8 months, 9 months, a year, and then you can be applying for 6 months and do just fine. Do you know if it's possible to dynamically create tables as view? Yes. Are my college assignments bad to leave on GitHub? I don't think they're bad. I think they're fine. If that's all you got, that's all you got. What are the pros and cons of free code camp versus Treehouse? So Zachary, I want you to think about it this way, man. You guys, a lot of times people want, like, what is the one best resource? But what you have to understand is that at the end of the day, you need to have multiple resources to learn from, because they're going to hit on similar points, and then you're going to know, like, oh, cool, this is important, it's going to reiterate that. And they're also going to hit on edge cases of things that are less important, a little bit more mundane, or a little bit less known. And so it's really important to do that. Is your tutoring cost $125 an hour? Yes, it is. That's my freelance rate. So... When you're being interviewed and they ask how long do you plan on being with the company, how do you answer knowing that you're gonna leave and upgrade a year after or so? Um, Dishonestly. I mean, I don't know how to tell you that. Like, if you're like, look, I'm just here until I get something better, that's not an answer that you should give. I'm not telling you to lie. I'm just telling you to bend the truth. Um, if I knew I was going to leave in like 6 months, I would probably just say, I'm really looking for a good team to work with, and so that I can grow as a developer, and I would just harp on that. That would be what I would harp on. But at the end of the day, man, you gotta look out for you. You gotta look out for your friends, your family, and you being unemployed isn't gonna help anybody. That's my thoughts. Ooh, hey, Katie. What's your interview answer to your biggest weakness? Um, to be honest, I don't have a good answer for that. I've been interviewed and I gave a really bad answer for it. I think it cost me a job one time. But how would I answer that? I mean, I suppose my biggest weakness is that I specialize in the front end and I don't really write back end code anymore. That would probably be what I would say. I was learning .NET and C Sharp for a bit, but I haven't really been playing around with it too much. What's he looking at over there? But I'd like to. When in about 2-3 weeks, I'm gonna ask to go on some services projects and see what I can do. I really want to pick up something new. It's not like I don't enjoy the front end, but I like picking up. I want to be full stack again. Thoughts on leaving my help desk job to go to a coding bootcamp? So I would always recommend that if you can, to not to try and figure out a way to work part time while you do things. But not every bootcamp can do that. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Ooh. Yeah, Flowers could put it quite well. You can plan on being there for a long time, but plans change, right? This is Tito. Do anything outside of work to stay sharp and sane. So, honestly, the last 2 years have been work, 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 work to get to the point in time that I'm to where I'm at right now. Um, and so, like, I still read some books. Like, I read books, technical books, and I do courses, and I build courses. I build more courses than I do nowadays. But we were working out till they took away our gym at the apartment, but now that we have a house, so this weekend I'm going to be buying some gym equipment. So once we get the house situated, we're gonna start working out. I was telling April in the morning, I'm gonna start jogging around the community. We have a gated community here, so like you can jog and not worry that you're just gonna get hit and run over by traffic. And um, so I'm going to do that. I might go swim laps in the pool, but hey, buddy, oh, mm, mm, buddy. Um, so I'm going to be working out again, and we're also going to be joining a sports league that some of my coworkers are a part of. Yeah, there's lots of C# .NET jobs. Hey, buddy. Um, yeah. So to be honest, I mean, the only real hobby I have is gaming. I don't really play that many games anymore. Although I did just buy Valkyrie Chronicles 3. I also watch a lot of anime. I don't say a lot, but I watch, like I've been watching Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia. The only like hobby I watch MMA. So like I'm a big UFC fan. The only like YouTube that I watch daily is MMA news. So I watched that to stay up to date. I'm looking forward to the Khabib Conor McGregor fight tomorrow night. So I'm gonna watch that. April and I go see movies, but there has been some health, not like bad health, like I'm completely out of shape health issues from me and not being more active, which is why we're joining the sports league, which is why we started working out again. So. Why do people talk down on .NET? I don't know that many people do. They need a UFC for developers. Yeah, people talk down on everything, man. Who you got? I'd like to see Connor just come back and just murk him. Like, Jose Aldo his ass, you know what I mean? But I don't know. So, like, I wish I could go back and rewatch the Ally Aquinta fight where he was stuffing Khabib's takedowns. And I don't know if Khabib just was like, I'll just punch this guy in the face, which isn't really his style. I think he just couldn't get Al down. I think Conor McGregor's going to take it, man. I think the easy thing to say is that the grappler beats the striker. But I think Conor McGregor is going to stuff the takedowns and then just beat him on the feet. That's what I think is going to happen. But it could easily go the other way where Khabib is just able to get on him and just grinds him out, because Conor does gas out, right? So like after the third round, he's going to gas out. So like more than likely. And Khabib's just going to keep going. This cat. But yeah, so I think Connor's going to take it. Yeah, this is my boy Tito. Can you guys hear him? Are .NET certs worth anything? I mean, they're worth to get your foot in the door. I mean, that's basically it. They're worth to put a cert on there and show that you code. But at the end of the day, when you're interviewing, they're going to ask you C# questions. They're going to ask you .NET questions if you don't know them. Will you make a list of your top 100 questions for JS interviews? Are you talking about like algorithm questions or JavaScript questions? I've been thinking for a while of making like how to get a dev job course on Udemy. I just haven't. Like the 100 algorithm challenge course, which I think came out great and it's doing really well, and I'm happy that you guys like it. Took me 3 months to make. Like 2 to 3 months every weekend. Yeah. So it's these courses, they take time, right? And it's made me like $3,000, something like that. Nothing crazy, right? But at the end of the day, I got, no, it's just bonus to me because I was able to put a course out, build my personal brand, but more than anything else, I was able to study for 3 months on something, which was really good. Do I prepare for interview questions? Yeah. But usually it's more like practicing algorithms than anything else. All right, fat cat, you're too hot. Get off me. Ugh, come on, come on. Ugh. Oh man. Are they indoor cats? Mainly. We let them run out for like 20, 30 minutes at a time. I'm not in a cubicle. I'm in an open workspace. If that's what you're asking. I mean, I have my own desk and whatnot, but I'm definitely in a open workspace. Ugh. I don't know anything about application security. You can definitely make a bot with Node.js, a Discord channel. You guys really want one? Well, you guys have been asking. I'll start to promote the Discord channel again. I have a Code Tech and Caffeine Discord channel. I'll make a video to promote it. Big boy. Where you go? Oh, you coming to me? Yeah. I usually don't have much time during the weekdays, so like when the weekends come and I'm actually out here laying, they all jump all over me. Hey, big boy. Hey, this is Milo. Can I tell you why I built a PC and not get an iMac? Well, one, I don't like overpaying for hardware, and Macs, you definitely overpay for hardware. Two, I built a PC because it's cheaper. But more than anything else, at the end of the day, I like the flexibility that Windows gives you. That's really it. What are you looking at, buddy? What would be the best way to include Bootstrap within a React application? They have an npm package called React Bootstrap, and I would encourage you to check that out. So like React Bootstrap has a bunch of components. I might get the name wrong, but something like that. You'll find it if you search for it. Are a bunch of components where they've essentially built out a lot of different HTML elements, and you can style them. It's better to become specialized in Angular and React, or is it better to learn Angular and React or just specialize? Well, that's always a hard question because I took the approach that I guess it depends where you're at in your career, to be honest. But if you're just getting started, I took the approach that it's better to be a generalist than a specialist, and you can specialize later. So that's the approach I took. I'm getting so many wrinkles. I'm getting old, man. I looked at myself in the mirror the other day. I said, Dylan, you're getting old. So what happened, man? What happened? We starting to age. But yeah, so I think generalist is usually the way to go. All right, guys. I appreciate you all. the next week in AMA, I'll have a desk, and then we can. I won't be bouncing around. I'm sure some of you are getting motion sickness, but it has been a pleasure as always, and I hope that you guys are staying motivated. Really, at the end of the day, it's kind of crazy. Like for me, for me, the one thing there's lots of things I want to sort of get pointed across, but one thing is that when you hit a goal, there's always additional levels of goal. Like my goal was to buy a house. Do you know what my next goal is? To pay it off in 5 years. Or buy a second house. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's always, just because you got to that goal doesn't mean you should stop setting them, and doesn't mean that you should stop accomplishing them. So like my goal with my, get that coding job, get the better paying coding job, continue to grind, continue to learn, continue to get better, milestone, 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 milestone. Just keep that mentality whenever you're going through life, and you'll be very happy. That's not to say that you shouldn't enjoy the roses and enjoy the journey, but always have an accomplishment, always have a goal, always have a milestone in mind of something that you're working towards. You may not get there when you want to. It may be harder than you thought it was going to be. You may be upset when it finally happens, but once you accomplish that one, you'll have something down the road that you can continue to get better with and continue to learn with. And just make sure you have that mentality. You'll be much happier in life. And that's something that I've sort of been doing the last 4 or 5 years, and it's worked out for me quite well. Of like, okay, now that I accomplished that goal, what's next? What's next in the horizon? Where's that new line that we need to cross? So keep that in mind as you grow as developers, as you grow as individuals, all that sort of stuff. So I appreciate you all. Have a good weekend. I'm going to go put a few minutes into Valkyrie Chronicles 4 and then probably go to bed. Bye, guys.